Feels like homeroom when I was in high school. And actually, I was riding in the car yesterday with one of the speakers, and she's going to come up later today. And we were totally geeking out about Mu Alpha Theta. And I'll talk about that later. Anybody who is a former mathlete knows what that is. But I know, seriously. But I couldn't be more excited just to have this event finally today. There have been a lot of hands, a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of brain power that went into putting together the program, getting the speakers, finding all of the amazing people that actually wanted to be a part of this, what has really turned out to be an extraordinary day. First, I want to make sure that I acknowledge yesterday we started out with an outrageously warm reception that was put together by Kat Blake and Abby Golliber on our team, and it ended up being an amazing start to this day. And so today, I want to start by thanking you guys for getting up early. Normally, we don't have this many people buzzing around at 10 a.m. At any Washington, D.C. event. So we appreciate your time and enthusiasm. And also, I want to start by thanking our host sponsor, Google. Google has been a supporter and a longtime encourager, go-to for a lot of not only NCC's work, but me personally. And specifically, I want to thank Chanel Hardy, Scott Deutchman, Josh, Nigel, even the Googlers who aren't in this room for being ongoing support for our organization. So if you guys will give them a warm welcome, thank you. Today, our program includes over 35 speakers from more than 10 states, and specifically, there are 6 Next Century cities, member cities that are represented on the roster, which was really important to me when we were doing the planning for this. The people come from Texas, Ohio, Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and we really wanted to get a robust roster of people that sometimes agree and sometimes don't, but all are thought leaders in their own right. We wouldn't have been able to do it with, first of all, our platinum sponsor, Facebook, the Facebook team, and then also our silver sponsors, AdTran and the Consumer Technology Association, our bronze sponsors, Calix, ETI Software Solutions, Harrison Edwards PR, and Wi-Fi Forward, and also the Internet Society, who is hosting our live stream today. There is no way that we would have been able to do this event, bring in all of these speakers, and come up with this type of programming without you. So if you'll give them a round of applause. In addition, I do want to make sure that we acknowledge several people who contributed to the program who might not actually be featured in the lineup today, but all of them either helped brainstorm ideas for either speakers or the topics that we discussed in this conference. Specifically, I want to acknowledge Katie Watson-Jordan from Internet Society, Lindsay Stern from Public Knowledge, Christopher Mitchell from ILSR, Will Reinhart from American Action Forum, Amir Nasser from Open Technology Institute, Stacy Pies from Crown Castle, Dominique Harrison from the Aspen Institute, John Howes from WIA, Angie Cronenberg from Encompass, Lauren Culbertson from Twitter, and also Ellen Satterwhite from Glen Echo Group. Thank you all for offering your time, taking my late night phone calls, and offering your ideas to get the speakers and the programming that we put together today. I do want to also make sure that we go over a little bit of what I hope for us to get out of the day. And sometimes when I'm thinking about what we're working on at Next Century Cities, I always want to make sure that people know that at 5 years old, our organization still has a laser focus on making sure that we are connecting communities that are both connected and disconnected, but making sure that people have an opportunity to participate in a digital society. It is becoming more and more like a necessity rather than a luxury for people to be connected. And our primary goal is to make sure that we are hosting those conversations and elevating the voices of the local leaders that are making that possible on the ground. Before we get into our actual program for today, I do want to turn it over to Google to give remarks just to set the stage for our programming, and then we'll continue. But I always want to keep in mind that even though there are only a few local leaders sprinkled throughout all of the panels today, they are at the forefronts of our minds, and I'm very mindful of the fact that we speak for people who may or may not ever get into the halls of Washington, D.C. They may never make it into the docket, but the policies that we make in this city have a direct impact on all of them. So I will turn it over to Scott Deutchman to welcome you all.
Thank you, Francella. Thanks so much for inviting us and to your team for all the hard work. This is absolutely a spectacular event. We see a few of these during the course of the year, but this is at the top of the list. I just wanted to start out just one short story, which was last night as I was preparing my remarks. I went to email them to my colleagues and realized that I had absolutely no connectivity at my house and was unable to do that, so anything I say is of my own doing, and if it's incorrect, well, so be it. We can blame it on lack of connectivity, which also makes it so incredibly ironic that I'm here today and so happy to have you and to welcome you to Google. I wanted to thank Rondella Hawkins, who I think is here from Austin. Nice to see you. Welcome. My sister and brother-in-law went to UT Austin, and anytime you want to go to the Salt Lick or Franklin's, I'm there. And Joe Webster, I think, is also here from Montgomery County, which is my home, which is where my home county. So we can talk about connectivity later. But here at Google, I hope you know, we share your commitment to having everyone, young and old, urban, rural, those who live on tribal lands, those people with disabilities, all connected to fast, affordable, high-quality broadband. My company provides tools to enable businesses and individuals to grow personally and professionally. So without broadband, we can't do our job. So thank you, NCC, for being our partner. It's exciting to talk to you on a program that and an organization that has bipartisanship in its mission statement. Partisanship seems something I think we're all familiar with a little bit too much here in Washington. So it's exciting to have you here. And the good news is, when it comes to technology, there are many things that we can agree upon. I just got back from CES, Consumer Electronics Show, where I saw televisions that folded into boxes, helicopters, autonomous helicopters that are going to be taxis, and wearable devices of every shape and size, and every mobile device that you could possibly imagine. And all those things have in common is the demand for bandwidth. And the good news about that is that overwhelming demand can drive in our localities the need deployment, the need for broadband across the country. It can improve healthcare, it can improve education, workforce development, and it can bring you competitive networks. Unfortunately, stakeholders increasingly find themselves on different sides of telecom policy issues. We're being asked, are you for licensed or unlicensed spectrum? Are you for fewer or more cell towers? The good news is that because of improvements in technology, these questions offer false choices. When it comes to infrastructure, it doesn't have to be a question of private or public. You all know in Austin, Google Fiber partnered with local officials to bring higher speeds, lower prices, and access to underserved areas, not just by us, by our competitors as well. When Puerto Rico was hit by Hurricane Maria, another one of our sister companies, Loon, sent balloons over Puerto Rico to beam broadband, partnering with the private telecom carriers as part of the crisis response. And as you know better than most, municipalities across the country are providing municipal broadband in public spaces without impinging on private carriers. So when asked if it should be private or public, the answer can be both. Spectrum's another area that has benefited from innovation. The question of whether to have unlicensed or unlicensed is posed as a choice, but it's a false dilemma. Sharing in the CBRS 3.5 gigahertz band is now being done successfully, where you have general authorized access, meaning it's easy to get low-cost access to 5G spectrum depending on where you are and what you are doing. And the rules protect licensed and federal users in the same spectrum band, and that's happening today. We didn't think that was possible 10 years ago. Regarding satellite spectrum versus fixed broadband, technology has shown that it's possible to utilize both fixed and satellite so that in rural areas, broadband can be brought to millions of people without interfering with satellite uses. Again, we no longer need to choose between serving millions of rural Americans and protecting satellite content distribution. When these choices arise today and back in your communities, rather than asking which one should you choose, I suggest choosing all of the above. The best suite of services and rules that allow you to provide ubiquitous, affordable, and fast broadband to your communities. So thank you again for being here, and I look forward to meeting you throughout the day.